literally, what is happening? I read River, the first book in this arc when it came out, and then promptly decided to not read the rest. Not because anything happened, I just wasn't interested anymore, so I left it at that. To be fully transparent though, I have been reading in the wiki, but mostly to know who's in a position of power and who died. But other than that, I have no idea what is happening. But the moment I learned a certain someone gets in a position of power, I had to read Thunder. There was no way I couldn't see what was happening. Then again, I really didn't want to go back and read the other books prior to this one. So I said, hey, let's read this with no prior context and see what happens. Also, quick reminder, I have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi, and I share my website for PNBs, AMBs, unpublished art, and speed paints, and scripts, and concept art, and just a bunch of stuff, and you can see it by starting $1 a month, and you will do me a solid favor, thank you. Anyway, surprisingly, I caught up very quickly with the story, and I heavily enjoyed this book. I don't know if I enjoyed it enough to go back to the past books I haven't read, but you know, I liked it, and I want to talk about it. With this said, I want you guys to remember, even more so if you haven't seen my previous reviews on these books, that 1. I tend to curse. 2. I also tend to kind of psychoanalyze these cats, meaning I will be touching some sensitive topics. Nothing explicit, but yeah, there is gonna be that. While I was reading Thunder, I made a bullet point list of scenes, lines, and character interactions that stood out to me. I will be talking about this. Expect me to go through most of the content in the book on this video, and my opinions on it, so let's begin. The first thing that stood out to me, and I'm so sorry I'm gonna start cursing, is that Riverstar gives no fucks. All the clan founders are looking down through the moonpool as Frostpaw bleeds out. Thing that really caught me off guard because I had no prior context, by the way. And everyone is looking at Riverstar like, aren't you going to do something? And Riverstar is just like, trust. He's insane, he's crazy, it's straight up madness considering Frostpaw is alone and her throat is slit open. Speaking of Frostpaw's throat, I really have to give a thumbs up to the errands. Frostpaw's wound, panic, and pain is felt through these pages. It's so well written to the point it's super hard to read. It hurt to read. Her panic and fear was tangible. She was confused and hurt and scared. Every time she moved, she would bleed more. But she couldn't not move. She wanted to hide. She felt exposed. It's a horrible situation to be in. Her reaction to trauma is so real and relatable to the point she doesn't want anyone to touch her. Anyone who's near her will hurt her in her eyes. She can't trust anyone. She's terrified. When Whistlepaw eventually finds her, Frostpaw again is terrified, backing away and trying to hide even though it will physically hurt her and make her bleed out. I'm so glad they showed Whistlepaw actually comforting her and healing her to the best of her abilities. She wants to be there for Frostpaw and help her and protect her, but Frostpaw cannot accept this kindness. Any form of kindness is suddenly now aggression, and that's tangible and so relatable, and it hurt to read. To clarify, I mean this all in a good way. This is so incredibly well written. I am so weirded out because this is Warrior Cats. There's good writing in my Warrior Cats. What? Medicine cats are suffering so much nowadays. I really just want to hold Shadowside and Frostpaw and make them feel safe. This is so messed up. Moving briefly into a happier note, and I mean briefly because I will be talking more about Frostpaw's trauma in a bit, let's move to Thunderclan with Sunbeam and Needletail. When I read in the wiki that Sunbeam had moved to Thunderclan to be with Needletail, I was very disappointed. To be honest, I am sick and tired of cats moving to one clan or the other to pursue their forbidden love, especially the women. If you notice, it's only the woman who changes clans to be with her partner. Dubwing did it, Mapleshade wanted to do it, Bluester considered it, even Shelfur's new Wind Clan mate did it, when Shelfur perfectly could have moved to Wind Clan. And I'm tired. I don't want to see that again. I don't want it to happen again. But I was pleasantly surprised at the freshness of Sunbeam's and Neidhart's relationship. They are super cute and it feels natural. I like it. It's nice. They both read like silly little 19-year-olds who discovered their first love, and it's cute. And what's even more cute is their little clique with Meryl Bloom and Bayshine. It's so nice seeing them finally flesh out background characters and have meaningful and fun connections to the protagonists. I root for them, they are super fun to read and I wanna be friends with them too actually. And of course, I cannot continue talking about Thunderclan without bringing the obvious elephant in the room and the thing that drew me to read this book in the first place. Bramblestar is retiring and Squirrelflight is taking his place as leader. The second I read that Squirrelflight was going to the Moonpool, I said, there's no way I'm missing this! And we get a huge will they, won't they mini plot regarding if Bramblestar will actually retire and if StarClan will give Squirrelflight her 9 lives. A lot of people saw Squirrelflight's behavior prior to her ceremony as inconsistent. She was super stressed out, lashing out, and accidentally trespassing borders. I want to argue this was because, again, she was super stressed and nervous. Abdicating leadership is not unheard of, but it's not entirely common. And Squirrelflight already has a complicated relationship with StarClan, as shown in Squirrelflight's Hope. I personally believe this is super understandable, and my girl is terrified. I also really like how they wrote Bramblestar and the relief of finally retiring and getting that burden off his shoulder. Like, I'm not very fond of the guy, but he deserves that rest, man. He's been through hell and back and just let him sleep. At this point, probably even the prospect of even going to StarClan must be terrifying. He died once and it made him a puppet, and it sucks even thinking about that. Something that I've been noticing for a long time in Warriors, even in the first arc ever, is that they spoon feed you the information so hard. I understand it's helpful for new readers, especially if the first arc isn't the first arc they read, but sometimes it's just a bit too much for me. Alderheart and Nightheart are escorting Bramblestar and Squirrelflight to the Moonpool, and when Nightheart questions if StarClan will give her 9 lives, Alderheart goes like, well, Rowanclaw, who was Rowenstar, gave his 9 lives back to StarClan, so his son, Tigerheart, who is no Tigerstar, could become leader. And I'm just sitting there like, I know! I've read this! You don't have to say this word for word, I know! Back in Thunderclan with Sunbeam, I adore how they show her struggle with Thunderclan's culture. I know this is not the first time there's been mentions of clans having different cultures and ways of life, but it's refreshing to see it in the perspective of someone who is actively moving clans and having to adjust to this new culture and how she can work to ease her way into it. She's used to being sheltered by pine trees and work alone, something Thunderclan does not do or have, and she struggles to bond with her clanmates because of this. But luckily everyone, well, almost everyone, I will get there, is super patient and understanding with Sunbeam, and she feels welcome. Of course, not everything is happy with her moving, such as her mother, Berryheart. Berryheart really reads like a Mother Gothel character. She's amazing though, she sucks so bad. She's so manipulative and mean and abusive and I hate her, but I love how she's written. I never wanted to dropkick a cat this bad since Ashfur. She literally walks into Thunderclan camp, doesn't give a fuck who's watching, and she starts abusing Sunbeam verbally horribly. She makes Sunbeam believe that she's unlovable, that she's betrayed everyone, but she's still in time to be forgiven, that she is not welcome. Everyone's faking it for the sake of Nightheart, not for her sake. She's not wanted, she is not loved, and her only escape are Berryheart's open arms. A lot of Berryheart's monologue about how Nightheart and Sunbeam can't choose between 2 clans really felt like a bisexual, biphobic rhetoric. With the make up your mind, you can only choose one. Now, let me clarify, this is absolutely not the author's intent. It just felt really familiar to me, and I thought it would be interesting to point it out. Anyway, thankfully, before Sunbeam can believe this, Finchlight jumps in her defense and rips Berryheart a new one. Finchlight really channeled her inner Squirrelflight here. She really said, man, no wonder your kids hate you. She had no mercy. I must admit, I sort of understand Berryheart's reasoning, while I don't justify her methods. She was one of Darktail's victims, and she's terrified of what she considers to be strangers in her clan, scared of betrayal, and people she doesn't know. I understand this fear, it's a valid fear. However, what she's doing is bad. It's straight up awful, and I do not condone it. Sunbeam really has it hard because of this. Internally, she does believe what Berryheart said. She believes that people don't love her, that people can't love her because she's just a liability. And that sucks. And I'm so glad she has a support system in a place that just wasn't her home and isn't fully her home yet. Ivy Pool, who is now deputy, by the way, I forgot to mention that. Gay people, rejoice! Ivy Pool is Squirrelflight's deputy. Ivy Pool has to give Sunbeam 3 trials so she can prove her worth as a Thunderclan warrior. Her trials are super fun to read, especially the first trial where Sunbeam is tasked to teach Spot for Kids to hunt in a team effort. And these are still babies, these are like 7-year-olds. Tiny little babies. And this scene was so fun to read. I usually don't care for training scenes in warriors, I just find them rather boring. But the chemistry between the kittens and Sunbeam was so cute, and the fact that Let's Semi-Kid curse was just the best thing I've ever read in the book. Please let the kitten say fuck. Back with Frostas, however, she keeps having visions with Riverstar, and he tells her a line that stuck to me. First, we must calm the waters. Frostas, most of the book, is frustrated that Riverstar just won't straight up tell her what's wrong with RiverClan, because the main conflict lies in RiverClan. Misty Star's dead and someone murdered Reed Whisker, creating a huge power struggle to the point Tigerheart took it upon himself to lead RiverClan alongside ShadowClan while a new leader is chosen. Reed Whisker appears next to Riverstar at one point. He can perfectly tell Frostas who killed him, but he doesn't, and for the longest time I couldn't wrap my head as to why. But while we ponder on this, after some shenanigans with Smokey and Whistlepaw, Frostpaw is taken by a person so they can stitch her neck on, she also gets paid. I don't want to get into this, honestly, so I won't. She gets paid. Moving on. While Nightheart is at the moon pool waiting for Squirrelflight to get her 9 lives, he finds Frostpaw, and Frostpaw straight up manipulates him into going on a journey with her, because Riverstar told her to do that, and Nightheart falls for it instantly, and they set off. At this point in the book, I finally get what I was waiting for the entire time. Squirrelstar becomes leader, and Brambleclaw becomes an elder. Even saying it now, it feels super weird, but yeah, Squirrelstar is canon. Gay people, rejoice! When Squirrelflight is presented as deputy in an impromptu gathering, I really like that Tonypel showed up and comforted Brambleclaw, also agreeing that he deserves some rest and he's worked so hard. Because he has, for better or for worse, he's done a lot of shit and gone through a lot of shit. Let him sleep. There's also some political conflict with Leafstar, Squirrelstar, and Tigerstar, because Leafstar doesn't like that Tigerstar took RiverClan under his wing, but I don't really care for it, I'm not gonna lie. Wait, no, I do care, because Tree finally does something. He's finally called to have meetings with the clan leaders so they can find common ground and on what to do with RiverClan, and I'm so glad they finally used the mediator to mediate. Jesus Christ. The politics explored in this book are very interesting and I enjoyed reading it. For most of the book, I wonder what was the point of Sunbeam's character arc. She's mostly like, oh my god, Nightheart isn't here, what am I supposed to do? I'm only here because of him, and if he's not here, then I don't like Thunderclan. And I was terrified that she will come to the conclusion that yes, she's only there for Nightheart, and no, she doesn't care for the rest, and if Nightheart isn't there, then nothing makes sense. But as we got more and more into her inner thoughts, I strongly believe, though I cannot confirm, that her character arc is focused on codependency and learning how to let go from that codependency and become her own self and enjoy life and new beginnings this way. And I like that. That's cool. Thank God her entire world doesn't revolve around Nightheart. Frostpaw and Nightheart journey until they reach what I believe are called the Cats from the Park? Riverstar apparently was born there, I don't know. Riverstar told them they had to go all this way because Frostpaw needs to learn to meditate. In my notes, I literally just have like, meditate. They came all this way to meditate. Frostpaw gets more and more upset at StarClan because they still won't tell her just what's going on. But I agree with the sentiment that you have to be kinder to yourself before you accept the hard truth. learning about it at once can only hurt you more. After a while of seeing Frostpaw meditating and bonding with Neidhart and the other cats, I come to the realization that Frostpaw's character arc is just healing her inner child. Because she didn't get to be a child, she saw her mother being torn apart right in front of her. She was thrown in a position of power at a very young age, is plagued by disturbing memories and visions, and at the end she gets her throat slit open. That's messed up. That's super messed up. Neidhart becomes such a good friend and very important support in Frostpaw's life. He has her back, and the two bond over their expectations they feel they have to fulfill for the sake of their mothers. It's super cool to see a relationship like this, knowing it will not end in romance. Hopefully. Honestly, when was the last time we had a relationship this close between a Tom and a Chica main characters that didn't end up in romance? I'm so glad their bond exists. Now, I'm gonna get into very personal territory here, but I believe it's important to share to get my point across. Once a few days pass, and Frostpaw gets a good grasp with meditation, she finally can admit that the one who tried to murder her was her best friend Splashtail. She loved Splashtail platonically and romantically, and trusted him with her life, and she believed he loved her back, even if platonically. But it turns out all of this was a lie. He used her, and when she became a danger to him, he was willing to kill her. When I got to the scene where Frostpaw finally says it and realizes that she's always known it was him, but wasn't ready to admit it, I literally had to put my phone down and stare at a wall for 2 solid minutes. To say Frostpaw's situation here is relatable will be an understatement. Her thoughts on Splashtail on this scene are almost a word-for-word process I am currently going through. And a process I've been going through for a couple of years now. It sucks. It sucks, and it's hard, and it hurts. Frostpaw needs to learn to understand and accept, because if she was outright told what happened and who caused it, she would have closed off more and pretend it never happened. Personally, with all the information that I have in my personal situation, I'm still not ready to accept it. Saying it out loud, even, I still believe it's not true. I think I'm not ready yet, I guess. It was nice seeing Frostpaw cross that bridge when she was ready, because the culprits of her clan's destruction are the cats she loved the most. And it was nice knowing, as dumb as it may sound, that if Frostpaw can cross that painful bridge, I may too. One day, just not yet. I feel physically very weird talking about this. Saying it out loud still feels wrong, like I'm lying and there's no bridge I have to cross, but I do? Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting from the book, but getting a goddamn intervention for something that I've been fighting for years was not it. I'm still somewhat grateful. It helps that I can be seen like this, and that there just might be a way out somehow. And I hope they keep writing characters and lessons like this in Warriors. I really needed to hear this, even if I can't fully absorb it. Man, that was heavy, sorry. I just thought it was a conversation that needed to be had, so let's pick it up a little and talk about cats, okay, thanks. Anyway, the bar is in hell. But thank you, Neidhart, for acknowledging Sunbeam's possible feelings to the prospect of having children. I appreciate it. Speaking of Sunbeam, during Sunbeam's last 2 trials by Ivy Pool, Cherryfall is on her ass the whole time, and I loved it. Cherryfall really showed Brynose is her father in here. She was a menace. One thing that I was really put off by is that Cherryfall calls herself an elder, and Sunbeam calls her an old she-cat. Keep in mind, Cherryfall is younger than Ivy Pool. Cherryfall is around my cat's age. She's not old, she's just xenophobic. Though I can't help but wish they gave this character interaction to someone that hasn't had a personality yet, like Eaglewing, Leafshade, Honeyfur, literally anyone who's just a name for the allegiance list. Hell, even Hollytuff would have been a great option considering how stern and conservative she is, and it wouldn't break Cherryfall's character as she was previously established to be an upbeat cat. Okay, now we're getting to the final stretch. I'm getting a bit tired, I won't lie. But the last thing I really want to talk about is the resolution of the book. And the big reveal that I had no idea was coming. When Frostpa is finally ready to face everything, Riverstar comes to her and says she has one more truth to face, tells her to be strong. And I'm terrified because they don't know what's gonna happen, and I was in my rights to be horrified because it turns out that it was not only Splashtail that was conspiring against Misty Star's and Reed Whisker's leadership, but Curlfeather. But Curlfeather was the one who was manipulating everything to her advantage, so she could become leader and Splashtail her deputy. She manipulated her own daughter, Frostpaw, into becoming a medicine cat and choosing her as leader. It was only after Curlfeather unexpectedly dies that the plan falls apart and Splashtail has to improvise. Duskfur, Frostpaw's grandmother, is chosen as temporary leader as she calls Spotlight, her son, to be Medicine Cat in place of Frostpaw. Spotlight allegedly has a message from StarClan that tells him Splashtail must lead RiverClan, and almost everyone buys it. I will also protect Bashan with my life. He's so unserious and I love him. He's my new little silly guy. Berryheart and a bunch of ShadowClan cats who were also victims of Darktail, including my beloved Snowbird and Yarrowleaf, call Riverstar to abdicate. Using the newer code rule that makes warriors make a leader step down with the blessing of the medicine cat, Shadowside's opinion on the matter is ruled out because he's Riverstar's son, and Puddleshine seemingly agrees with Berryheart, but it turns out it was a lie to trap Berryheart and expose her. She has no grounds to make Tigerstar step down, and in the end she's exiled. Sparrowtail and Hollow Spring follow her, and Sunbeam is broken down because those are her parents and her brother. It's messed up. And all I'm thinking is like, man, Needletail would have beat Berryheart's ass. Remember, Needle was Berryheart's firstborn, and she was literally killed by Darktail. Needletail will have all the reasons to seemingly do what Berryheart is doing, but I strongly believe that Needletail will just not support what her mother is doing. Honestly, if Needletail shows up and it seems she supports Berryheart, I might end it all, I'm not gonna lie. Also, Duskfur saying we don't have a real medicine cat really pissed me off. I know they really mean they don't have a religious medicine cat, but Mothwing has been there for generations. You put some respect on her name right now. Nightheart and Frostpaw arrive at the meeting, hidden by the way, just when Splashtail is named leader, and they just really dropped a Rising Storm ending on us. This is Tiger Claw becoming Tiger Star. Now, with this being the conclusion of the book, as my closing thoughts, I do have a small theory as to why there's a weird nepotism control going with Duskfur, Curlfeather, and Spotlight. Splashtail is distantly related to Frostpaw's paternal grandfather, so I guess he can also kinda squeeze into this nepotism thing. I say this all to say, back in Misty Star's Omen, years ago when I was a kid, I saved this information in my brain for some reason, that Kate Carey believed Duskfur and Reed Whisker were mates and their kids are Curlfeather and Spotlight. I don't know if the new team is taking this as canon or adding it into the plot, but if it does happen to be the case, my logic says, what if Reed Whisker disowned Curlkit and Potkit, and that's why their relationship with him hasn't been mentioned yet? And it will kinda explain why Curlfeather was so willing to kill Reed Whisker. Misty Star's death at first seems like it was caused naturally, but Wistlepaw questioned this in this book. And when you go back to River, it was Duskfur who pressured Misty Star emotionally to the point she just dropped dead. I can't help but think that this may be the reason, or part of it at least. It's very deliberately a family effort, and knowing the very old statement of Reed Whisker and Duskfur being mates, I just wonder. Also, calling Frostpaw's name now, it's gonna be Frost River or Frost Ripple, I think. You're welcome. Anyway, those are my thoughts. This video ended up being way longer than I was expecting, and once again, I am... thank you so much for watching, and my next talking video is gonna be about Genshin Impact lore because I have so many thoughts, and I can't take it anymore. I know most of you probably don't care about Genshin, but you know, if you are interested or if you want to hear me rant about Aztec cosmology, yes, that's gonna be in the video, then you have something to look forward to. Anyway, have a nice day, take care, love ya.